Welcome in to another edition of the Hunter Baumgart Show here on this Monday night, our weekly get together to talk Brewers, which I've been really enjoying. Hopefully you have been as well. 7 o'clock each Monday, going to continue to do this and thought I'd do it here tonight. We got a few different topics to cover tonight. And of course, I want your comments on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you may be watching. Maybe you're watching on YouTube at Hunter B on Air or on Facebook, Hunter Baumgart Sports. It goes live there as well. But feel free to subscribe to that YouTube channel so you know when we're going to go live. If maybe it's a different day or maybe, after a game, whatever it happens to be, you will know what day we are going live if you subscribe. If you hit that like button and subscribe, as the podcasters say. So, all right, here's, as you see the title, Let the Games Begin. Spring training games are underway, which is awesome. And we are going to go into just a little bit of the takeaways from it. It's really early. Number one, spring training. It's hard to take anything from scores, from results, from numbers, and much less this early in camp. I mean, everybody's just trying to get their footing, but there's a couple takeaways that we can look at, and we'll do that. Pat Murphy was extended. We'll get to that here in just a moment because Pat Murphy, manager of your Milwaukee Brewers, has been given a new contract that includes then also a team option in 2029. So we'll get to that as well as the rotation tonight. Can I have a little discussion about the starting rotation? Who is going to make it? I have happened to think there are three locks to make the rotation, and then the rest of the rotation is up for grabs. But some comments today made by Brandon Woodruff might lend us to think that maybe Brandon Woodruff not going to be ready for opening day. We'll discuss that quote here in a little while as well. So all that to come, and a little note on Brewers TV as well towards the end, because I want to inform you how to watch spring training games if you want to watch them, because I was doing it today and it was great. It was easy and it was free to watch spring training games. So no joke. It's free to watch spring training games. So want to make sure you know how to do that. And then, of course, taking your comments here on YouTube and Facebook. I'll see them pop up and we'll get into your comments, your questions. If you have questions after the first few days of spring training or comments, feel free to let us know. But I want to start with the Pat Murphy extension, because it's funny because last week on this very show, I talked about my three things to watch in spring training for the Milwaukee Brewers, one of which was Pat Murphy. And is he going to get an extension or not before opening day? And I said I would have been very surprised if he was not extended by opening day. Well, he was extended the day before spring training games started. So they wanted to get it done before the schedule began on Saturday. And that's exactly what they did. The news broke Friday. They announced it early the next day. And so really, or the news would have broke. It wasn't Friday. It was a little earlier than that. So they got it done before the first game. And so for Pat Murphy, it's going to be a 3-year deal that's new. So they basically kind of ripped up this year of the deal, 2026. They made it new through 2028, plus a club option for 2029. So that would take him through his age 70 season in 2029. And he continues as the manager of your Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, this is well-deserved. 2-time NL Manager of the Year, 97 wins. We all know the resume of Pat Murphy by now. $8.95 million more money guaranteed makes him one of the highest paid managers in the sport. So this is good for so many reasons, in my estimation. Obviously, you don't want him going into a lame duck year. You don't want him going into a season where he doesn't know where his contract is going to stand, and maybe they have to negotiate during the season, and you don't want any of that. You want to get it all done before opening day, and like they did, get it done before spring training games start, because why not? They go into the year. Of course, we all knew Pat Murphy was going to be around, but you want to put that in paper. You want to put that in writing. And Matt Arnold and Pat Murphy have worked really well together, and they will for years to come. We'll get to a quote from Matt Arnold here in just a moment. But I also think Pat Murphy is incredibly good for this team, this market, this organization, this city, this state. It's not all the time that you get a manager that fits the brand of a baseball team. There are managers who have had a lot of success and you'd want to scoop them up in a heartbeat, right? There's certain managers that, they're like, okay, they're going to their next team, right? The veteran managers who you've seen go to different teams because of the success that they've had in the past, and maybe they wore out their welcome where they were. And those are the types of managers, the legendary managers that just get scooped up, and the Terry Francona, right? There's Don Mattingly. I mean, just to name a couple, but there are certain managers that when they are free agents, they are given a look at. Now, Don or some of those guys were obviously looked at in their prime. Bob Melvin, right? It's guys that have been around the game for a long time and have won a lot, and so they are obviously managers that Major League Baseball teams are going to be interested in. And I think when it comes to Pat Murphy, it's not often when then you hire a manager and he just fits everything about the team. And that's what Pat Murphy has done. And I think that's why he's been successful. Of course, his decisions in game and things like that have all helped, and his great coaching staff with him and the players he's been given and everything like that. That has all helped Pat Murphy. But I think at the core of what has helped Pat Murphy be so successful with the Milwaukee Brewers is his ability to not only connect with players, but connect with players in a way that it needs to happen in Milwaukee, because it's different than in LA. I mean, you just had, Sal Frelick saying on Foul Territory today, as they did their show at Brewers Spring Training, just saying, yeah, we know that, the big name free agents aren't necessarily going to come here, but we also trust the front office. If the Brewers players, right, you work your, as hard as you can to get to the major league level, and then you get there and your team isn't going to spend big in free agency, that might put more pressure on you, right, to perform. But you also know that you're going to get a great opportunity and have a chance to earn it with the Milwaukee Brewers, with the organization. And because of that, I think Pat Murphy knows really, really well how to connect with players on that level. And that's where it comes in, where he's, win tonight. That's where that matches. It just matches what this team has to be about. And he saw it from the bench for many years. And when he got his opportunity, he absolutely took the reins, and he has taken Major League Baseball by storm. And there's a lot of teams that would line up to get Pat Murphy as their manager. And so so that's a little bit of what I mean when I say he fits this team, he fits this organization. Heck, he fits the city, the state, right? It's so easy to cheer for. He's kind of one of us. He's a it's not like he was raised here. I get that. And it's funny that we even have this discussion after Craig Counsell was talked about a little more in that way. We all remember the video and everything. And obviously things have changed since then. But to some extent, he was part of this as well. It just seems Pat Murphy's been able to say it better and easier to the team and the public in the last couple of years. And has been able to articulate it really well. And I think that's led to some success. For instance, his opening address to the team this year. And if you did not see it, go to the Brewers social. It was a fantastic, about 40-second video. I'm sure it was, not the whole opening address, but it was a good clip of it. And it really sets the tone for the season. And the main quote that I got from it was this. And this is Pat Murphy addressing the team like right before spring training began, for the first workout. He does it every year. All managers do, I think. But Murphy said, quote, "We're about people. We're about team. Wherever you're from, whatever color you are, whatever you believe in, as long as you want to commit to winning baseball." Not MLB's way of saying, on paper, this team is this. We don't care. And then he finished with "don't be shocked" as well, which I have a feeling that might become some sort of a moniker for this season as we go throughout the 2026 season. But I think you read that quote, you see it right there in front of you, and you say, that is exactly the type of manager you want right now. And he backs it up by winning. If he would have been bad in his first 2 years, maybe the gimmicks or some of the things he does or the jokes and everything like this would have maybe fallen on the ears that maybe were like, yeah, but you haven't done it you haven't won, right? And that's, at the end of the day, it's about winning. But he's won. And I think it's because of quotes like this. It's because he knows how to get the most out of his players. And what I'm impressed with too is how he is able to come into this year. Your team just won 97 games last year. Your team just got to the NLCS last year. But he comes in with a message that is still going to fire you up. Like, I'm sure there was some included about last year, and last year's last year, and this year's this year. But no matter if you were here last year, no matter if you weren't here last year, it doesn't matter where you come from as long as you want to play winning baseball. And that's what this team has done consistently for the last 2 years under Pat Murphy. Play winning baseball night in, night out, and play to win tonight and play for each other. And that's led to 2 incredible seasons so far. And now they've won 3 straight NL Central titles in 4 of the last 5 years, obviously a couple of those under Counsell. So it makes so much sense, obviously, for them to extend him, but it also makes so much sense that he's the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. And I am so excited to continue to cover him, and also just continue to watch what he does with this club, because this club obviously lost some significant pieces. When you talk about Freddie Peralta, you talk about Caleb Durbin, we all know that. How is he going to mix and match his players this year to get the absolute most out of them? Because he's going to find a way to do that. And that's the exciting part about being a fan of the Brewers right now and watching this team. So Pat Murphy's extended. That is good. One more quote here from Matt Arnold. Pat Murphy has been an incredible partner and leader here for over a decade. I'm thrilled that we have been able to come up with a framework that keeps Murph with the Brewers for years to come and maintains that special relationship that we have established. I look forward to continuing the pursuit of a World Series championship with Murph and his staff. So very much looking forward to that as well. Those two have worked in tandem really well together. Matt Arnold has obviously been a huge part of the success as well. He was recently given that new title at the end of last year to President of Baseball Operations. I would think he's here to stay for a while as well, because I think that's probably a reason why he's here to stay for a while, is because he was technically promoted to that new title. But he'll continue to, hopefully make great decisions like he has in building this Brewers team for years to come. So you have continuity at the top, and that is significant, especially when you had your winningest manager in franchise history walk out the door in November of 2023, and it was like, okay, what's going to happen next? And it was Pat Murphy and Ricky Weeks, and they did their introductory press conference together, which you rarely see, and you kind of saw that it might be a couple of years and Ricky Weeks might be in this spot. But when a guy goes out and wins NL Manager of the Year 2 years in a row and gets 2 division titles and wins 97 games and gets to the NLCS, that is very much grounds to continue. And Ricky Weeks goes to the front office, and all of that kind of makes sense together. So very some interesting quotes there, and wanted to bring them to you from Pat Murphy, of course, from Matt Arnold as well. Right. So let's see here. We got a comment coming up. We'll get to that here in just a moment. All right. So if you're just joining us, we're talking Brewers for a little while. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, and they will come right to the right here. And like Roger here says, take care of Terang. Yes. Matt Arnold saying today on Foul Territory that he's always open to having conversations. Now, when Sal Frelick was asked if there have been extension talks, it didn't sound very much like it yet. But we'll see what Bryce Terang and the Brewers, hopefully at some point can get something done. I very much agree, Roger. He's the type of guy you lock down. So hopefully they're able to do that. Spring training is underway. We're going to get to roster and rotation here in just a moment. So, Ben, I see your comment there. We'll get to you in a moment. Let's start with some spring training takeaways. As I mentioned, the title for tonight's show, Let the Brewers Games Begin, because that is exactly what has happened. Spring training is underway for your Milwaukee Brewers. And so far, the final scores haven't necessarily been exactly what you want as a Milwaukee Brewers fan. However, that's all right. You have a couple of, you're 0-4, the Brewers are right now. They've got the Athletics on tap tomorrow, followed by the Giants and the Rangers the rest of the week. We'll get to kind of what's going to be happening as far as the pitching side of things for the next few days in a moment. But what are my takeaways? Well, today, Brewers were up 5-1 before they ended up falling, unfortunately, 7-5. But how about this for a first inning? And I want to read this to make sure I get it right. So Ortiz with a single. This is the first inning today. Ortiz single, Vaughn home run. Gary Sanchez was hit by a pitch. Then Lockridge singled. And then eventually Jet Williams with a 2 RBI triple. Yeah, that's showing off the speed. And so a couple of things from that first inning today as they got to Sears in Peoria against San Diego. Number one, great to see Vaughn. 407-foot blast for his first home run of spring. Love to see that. By the way, Lockridge homered later in the game. Lockridge now has 2 home runs in 2 games so far. He's 4 for 7 so far in spring. The other Brewers to homer so far in spring, Akil Baddoo, came over from Detroit. If you're like, who's Akil Baddoo? Yeah, he came over from Detroit. I mean, honestly, him and Lockridge are, battling possibly for one more outfield spot. We can get into how the roster might shake out. But honestly, we'll see. Vaughn, like I mentioned, homered, and then Brock Wilken homered a couple of days ago as well. So just some takeaways from the 7-5 loss to the Padres today. Again, it's really hard to take away specifics right now. Everything is scheduled. I mean, when you look at who's going to pitch, we get who is going to pitch before each game, at least scheduled to pitch. And there are maybe obviously a few that aren't on the list that pitch maybe, but for the most part, we know who's going to pitch each and every game. So it's different. And obviously where they're playing Terang and Ortiz and Abner Uribe pitch today, some of the guys that are going to be going to the World Baseball Classic here in a few days, those are guys that are getting more playing time. Like I mentioned, Ortiz has been in there a lot. Obviously, Bryce Terang, Angel Serpa, I believe, is going to be. He's going to be. Let me see. I want to make sure I get this right. Angel Serpa is going to be. When is he going to be pitching? Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow when they play the A's, and then you've got Carlos Rodriguez on the mound on Wednesday when they face San Francisco, and then Aaron Ashby on Thursday. One person commented and asked, no Sprout or Harrison. Not yet. They're going to build them up, and there's a lot of spring left. Opening day comes, a month from Thursday, so there's a lot of spring training left. So we'll see everybody, and they're probably giving some guys some ramp up more than others. So that's what the Brewers have been doing. Unfortunately, 0-4. Again, I don't particularly necessarily look at the results of these games. It's more so how are these players doing? And that Jet Williams triple today made me realize and just makes you think about the fun that you could see, watching that guy play for years to come. Now that he's a Milwaukee Brewer, there's a flash there. It's interesting because it's like, so Jet Williams did that 2 RBI triple. And then like a couple innings later, Ortiz with a diving stop at short. And you just like that's kind of the conundrum, if you will, that the Brewers might be in. Now, I have a feeling Ortiz is, I think I've said it in weeks past. I think Ortiz has a real chance to be significantly better than last year and a guy you can trust at the plate at the shortstop position. So I hope to see that this year because he's sensational on the defensive side and you want that guy on the field. And we'll see if it comes true. And Jet Williams is waiting in the wings for sure as well. So that is, when it comes to spring training, kind of the update there. Once again, hard to take anything away at the moment, but that is the update. Let's see. Wisconsin Sports on the go. Trag saying, love what we are seeing from Brock Wilken, raw power. Yeah. And he had, it was reported less than a week ago that he had a shoulder impingement. Sounds like they didn't think it was serious, the Brewers, and clearly it's not because he homered the other day. So that's good, obviously. But I'm telling you, Wilken could be that third baseman that the Brewers have been looking for a long time now and trying to solve that third base position. And sure, Luis Rengifo is going to be the stopgap option, right? He's going to be the guy and occasionally David Hamilton. And that's probably going to be what's going to happen in 2026. However, in future years, would love to see what Brock Wilken could do. And that guy's had some tough injury luck too. Wilken is a guy who has not played yet in AAA, but had a great season last year when he was healthy, played 78 games. That's a guy who, unfortunately, he's gotten hit in the face with a baseball and then had a dislocated like kneecap celebrating the first half championship last year in the minor league season. And he was telling Todd Rosiak about it at the Journal Sentinel. It's a great interview. Go check out Todd Rosiak's interview with him on X. But he was basically saying he just stepped back and they had tarps down because they were spraying champagne. And he basically stepped back and then dislocated his kneecap and then was out for a long time. So, yeah, he's gone through some trials and tribulations, but I'll tell you, he is going to be. I am also with you. I think Brock Wilken is going to be an exciting player for years to come and could hold down that corner infield spot. And you want the corner infield spot to have some power, and the Brewers just haven't had that in recent years. So that is the spring training update. Feel free again to give your comments here, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you may be watching here tonight. And if you're not able to join us live, by all means, you can always watch this later, listen to it later. It's always up on YouTube after the show. So feel free to rewind if you missed it and you're just joining us now. You can always rewind and watch it as well. Make sure to subscribe so you always know when we're going live, but planning to try to do this weekly each and every Monday. So one of the final things that I wanted to get to tonight, and then I see some questions popping up and we'll continue to get to those. Get to some roster things or whatnot, but the rotation is something I wanted to get to because it's not something we had necessarily discussed the last couple of weeks, and I think it's interesting to look at and see who is going to be in this starting rotation this year. And it comes on the day that we get a little news about Brandon Woodruff. So let's first talk about the Brandon Woodruff news. So Brandon Woodruff talked today. He had a live sim game today through about 25 pitches. And that's where basically it's a simulated game against your own batters. So you have Brandon Woodruff on the mound today, which was good. Now, there wasn't a setback or anything, but in the interview he did with the media afterwards, this was the quote he gave when asked about whether he was going to be ready for opening day. He said, quote, "Too early to say right now. It's up in the air right now. There is one goal I have this year, and that is to be healthy. I want to be available at the end of the year when it matters most. What that looks like early on could be a little different. There's nothing set in concrete, though." So interesting on many levels, right? One interesting part of that is it's up in the air right now, opening day. Presumably, he would be your opening day starter if he is healthy. The second part to that is, and there was some more in there, and you can go and find the full interview. I believe Adam McCalvey had it on X, but he said, quote, "I want to be available at the end of the year when it matters most." And I don't blame him for that at all. Truly. I mean, you think about what happened last year, and the day they clinched the NL Central, we get the news that he's likely out for the season. And maybe if they make a deep run that he could possibly be back, but that was far-fetched. So I get it. I totally get it that Brandon Woodruff wants to be in the mix late in the season. Because when did he first get hurt? Right before the playoff series. Then he got hurt right before the team clinched the title and went on to compete in the postseason and made a run to the NLCS. We want Brandon Woodruff ready for the playoffs. Brandon Woodruff wants Brandon Woodruff to be ready for the playoffs. So if he misses a little time early in the year, I'm not going to be too upset about it. The problem with that is you're banking on Brandon Woodruff to be a significant part of your rotation, and not a guy who necessarily is only significant in the second half of the year like he was last year. That was kind of the plan, is get his footing and everything. And he said he had a good offseason, but I also do wonder how cautious they're going to be with him. Now, also, you got to realize he's been being paid the most for 1 year that a Brewers pitcher has ever been paid. So they want to get their money's worth. So there's going to be a little, push and pull here, give and take with the Brewers and with Brandon Woodruff. But I think it's interesting because I was presuming, okay, he's going to be the opening day starter. And to be honest, Pat Murphy has named Freddie Peralta the opening day starter like the first day of camp in recent years. So I was expecting that announcement really soon. We're not going to get that really soon. And I have a feeling that this is going to come down to the last week or two, and we're going to see how Brandon Woodruff progresses. I would think we'll see him in a game in a couple of weeks, but does that mean he's ready for an opening day start? I don't know. He's clearly prioritizing late, the later in the season and getting through the season healthy, which I get and I want. And in September, we're going to be happy about it. I just wonder what that means for his long term, for his health right now going into this season. Like, is it a little worse than we thought? I don't necessarily think so, but it's not, he didn't come out and say, yep, I'll be ready on opening day and can't wait to take the ball for this team. Right. So he might still take the ball on opening day, but it's up in the air. So something to think about and something to realize when we look at what Brandon Woodruff means to this team, what Brandon Woodruff will mean as kind of that one veteran in the rotation. I mean, that's the next thing here. You're ready for all the possible guys who could be in this rotation. It is unbelievable. So here's where the rotation stands right now. And this is what I think. Now, barring injury, of course, I think there are 3 spots locked in this rotation. I think Brandon Woodruff is in, Quinn Priester is in, and Jacob Mizorowski is in. Obviously, if Brandon Woodruff is not ready to go, you can plop, one of these bottom guys up top. However, I think those 3. Now, if Brandon Woodruff doesn't go opening day, could we see Jacob Mizorowski go on opening day? Possibly. Who knows? That would be electric. Jacob Mizorowski, opening day starter. But look at all these guys. Look at 8 guys there that I think have a legitimate chance at the rotation. Now, there are some more than others. And to be honest, I went left to right on this. As far as the guys that I think have the best chance to get into the rotation. So if you're on the left, you have a better chance, and if you're on the right, you don't. Now you're going to say Hunter, Aaron Ashby, and DL Hall are incredibly good pitchers. Or more veteran guys, and DL Hall's obviously coming in. It's maybe the healthiest he's been as a Brewer. So like all of that is yes. But knowing Pat Murphy's comments about Aaron Ashby, saying that, he kind of liked the role that Ashby was in last year, I have a feeling Ashby and Hall continue to be long relief options. And Chad Patrick, I think for his experience, he's been in different systems. And obviously what he did in the season and then in the postseason last year, I think he gets a spot in the starting rotation. And then it's interesting because then you have Kyle Harrison and Brandon Sproat, 2 guys who weren't Brewers, a month and a half ago. I would lean towards Kyle Harrison because he has some more experience at the big league level, seems more ready, higher ceiling probably. So I would go Patrick and Harrison. However, that next crop is really fascinating when you talk about Sproat, Henderson, and Gasser. I think Sproat is probably the closest, although Henderson, we've seen what he can do. Again, like you look at these guys and how many of them are going to be in the bullpen then, right? Like, do you put a guy, instead of having someone be a starter like a Logan Henderson or Robert Gasser, do you turn them into a long relief option? Angel Serpa, what does he give you? I think he has the opportunity to start. Like there's a chance that he does, but I think for the most part, he's in the bullpen and maybe even a longer relief. We'll see what kind of role he settles into out there in the pen. But we also have to remember this isn't, this isn't 2000 anymore, right? This is, it's not even 2010 anymore, right? This is still 2026 where starters don't go as long. So you're going to need probably, I would guess, if you look at every single arm on this graphic here, I think they're all pitching at least a major league inning, obviously at some point this year, maybe even the first half of the season. And so that's just how it goes. There are going to be guys that go on the IL. You're going to need guys. So it's amazing to have this type of depth, but it's also fascinating to see who is going to be the guys that make that rotation. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the Brewers end up going with and who ends up going to the bullpen and who ends up going to AAA, because the Brewers AAA roster is going to be loaded as well. Absolutely loaded. Like if you're playing the Nashville Sounds this year, like look out, just be careful because you're going to be there's going to be some heat coming. No doubt about that. So again, if I were to make a prediction right now on this February 23rd, who's going to make the rotation, I would go Woodruff if healthy, Priester, Mizorowski, and then Chad Patrick, Kyle Harrison. Now, is that going to be the exact order? You can give and take that. You could put Mizorowski second if you want to. You could put Kyle Harrison fourth and Chad Patrick fifth. My guess is they might just line it up as far as who they're facing, who the White Sox are throwing out there, whatever it happens to be. However the White Sox team looks for that first homestand, they got White Sox and Rays. So however those teams look, whatever the schedule might be. But I think, in a couple of weeks, we'll start to see maybe a little bit more news on that. Who's going to make the rotation? How is that going to look? And who is necessarily going to make that opening day roster? So those are a couple of rotation notes there. And I'm fascinated to see. I'm excited about Kyle Harrison. This is a guy who, as I mentioned, just has that really high ceiling, can be electric. And if he is your 5 option in your rotation, you're in a really good spot. That's what excites me. I know they traded away Freddie Peralta. I know they traded away Caleb Durban, but boy, is the depth good in this rotation when it comes to the starting pitching and just the pitching overall. All right, one more thing before we get to a couple of comments here, and feel free to get them in here, and I'll take them before we sign off here tonight on YouTube and on Facebook. Feel free to comment. You have a question about maybe a roster question, a starting rotation question, or just a comment. Feel free to leave them as spring training games are underway. Let me see here. So I wanted to finally kind of conclude with a quick note on this, because I just make sure you're doing this, because I did it myself today. In fact, you can watch select Brewers spring training games for free. There are select games that the Brewers have put out and are free that you can watch. And so sometimes it's the away broadcast, or sometimes it's the opponent broadcast. Sometimes it's the Brewers broadcast. Just kind of depends on who is calling the game that day, and who is putting their TV crew on, basically. So today, for instance, the Brewers played the Padres, and the Padres TV broadcast was there. But right now, you don't even have to pay for the season yet. I mean, obviously, you're going to want to, because it's going to be $100 for the season. But you can go to brewers.tv, and as long as you have an MLB account, you don't even have to pay for anything. You just make an account, like just username, password, boom. And you could watch it for free. And so that's why I just logged in. I had an MLB account. I just logged in, didn't have to pay anything. I mean, eventually I will pay for the season and watch the season. But right now, I did it today because I'm like, I haven't, I haven't went and did the subscription yet. But you don't need to. You can watch him for free. And that's why the Brewers are promoting this. This is why you've seen the graphics. So brewers.tv, you can do it on phone. You can do it on computer. You can do it a million different ways, but definitely do that and take advantage of some awesome spring training baseball. And you can feel like you're in Arizona when it's like 20 degrees like it was today, and windy and freezing. And we're still in winter here. But it makes you feel like you're in Arizona, just like that picture does in the background, doesn't it? So something to keep in mind. Brewers.tv, and you can see select Brewers spring training games right there. All right, let's get to a couple of comments here. All right, Ben. Let's get to Ben here. Who is your dark horse to make the opening day roster? Oh, man. That's a good question. I'm fascinated to see what the outfield shakes out as, because obviously Frelick's a lock, Churio's a lock, Yelich is a lock. I would think Garrett Mitchell and Blake Perkins are also locks. Do you keep one more? Do you keep a Brandon Lockridge? Do you keep a Akil Baddoo? Baddoo is a guy who's a little bit been there, done that, been with the Tigers for a while. Both Lockridge and Baddoo with homers to start camp in the first 4 games. Lockridge has 2, had one today. I would go maybe with one of those guys. It also depends on how many infielders you take as well. Like, obviously, you're going to take Vaughn. Obviously, you're going to take Bowers. Obviously, you're going to take Terang, Ortiz, and Rengifo. And quickly, those numbers and those opportunities for the roster start to dwindle. One of these weeks, we'll do a roster prediction, like a total roster prediction. I'll see if I can do the math on that and see who's in and who's out. Maybe we'll do it kind of by position or by position group, I guess I should say. Maybe 1 week we'll do the infield, 1 week we'll do the outfield, whatever, But I think if I were to pick a dark horse right now, maybe it's one of those outfield guys. And I don't even know if Badu is a dark horse necessarily. Lockridge might be, and of course, he got him in the Nestor Cortez deal. He played a role last year, fast guy. So maybe it's one of those outfielders, but interested to see how those guys play. And then also, I'm fascinated to see how the infield shakes out. I would think Jet Williams starts at AAA. He had 34 games at AAA last year. I would think he starts at AAA next year or this coming year. But I also could see he plays, exceptional in spring training, and he makes it hard on him to not be that utility. But if he doesn't have a starting spot, it just makes me think they're going to want him to get consistent at bats at third or at AAA. Whether it's at third base or not, we'll see. So those are a few of my thoughts. That is really, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I had planned to get to as we wrap up here. Any last comments, feel free to get them in on this Monday evening. Fun, just doing a Brewers chat each and every Monday evening, kind of check in with the crew as they go. Once again, tomorrow they play the A's. Angel Serpa is going to be the starter tomorrow. Carlos Rodriguez is going to be the starter on Wednesday as they are back at American Family Fields of Phoenix, hosting the Giants and Willie Adames. Then on Thursday, they are playing against the Texas Rangers. Aaron Ashby is going to be on the mound on Thursday. So, and feel free to follow me on all socials at Hunter B on Air if you haven't already, especially on X. I make sure to try to keep you updated with who's pitching. If you're going down to Arizona, you could follow along and make sure you know who is pitching and who is, who you're going to see that day. If you're going to a game at American Family Fields of Phoenix, hopefully you can get down there and enjoy some sunshine, enjoy some baseball. Yeah, it looks beautiful down there. So that is, Ben just asked, are you in Maryville? I'm not currently in Maryville. But so once again, spring training games are underway. And that's when pitchers and catchers is the first milestone. Spring training games is the next. The World Baseball Classic is going to be fascinating. We're going to talk more about that coming up next week. I'll kind of give you the rundown, how that works, what Brewers are playing in it, because by that time, you're going to be real close to some games. Because this is going to come up on us quick. I have a feeling the guys in the next few days are going to probably be going to their home bases, wherever they're playing for their countries for the World Baseball Classic, which starts in early March. So that's going to be fascinating. To then, you guys like Ortiz, like guys like Terang are going to be leaving. And so it's like, okay, who's going to play shortstop every day for the Brewers in these spring training games? Who's going to play second base? You're going to see more of guys like Luis Pena and Jesus Madej and obviously Jet Williams and Cooper Pratt and Rock Wilkin. And you're going to see more of these guys because those guys are going to be at the World Baseball Classic. Appreciate it, Donna. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I absolutely love the comments as well. Always get a bunch and appreciate you watching. Appreciate all the comments as well. We will be back. Plan to do this next Monday at 7:00. Let's make it a tradition in the lead up to opening day, which is not too far away. So very much looking forward to that. Thanks so much for watching tonight. This has been the Hunter Baumgart Show. Talk a little Brewers on this Monday night.